everybody, welcome back to Jeep Around Texas. Today we're going to do an install video on the Smittybilt engine and transmission skid. I'm not necessarily a big fan of Smittybilt, but we were looking through and had a lot of good characteristics that we liked. It's the same thickness as just about every other skid plate out there. With my wife getting more involved in the wheeling side of it and enjoying going out more and more frequent, we decided that we need to start doing some armor underneath the Jeep. So anyways, it's 3/16 steel. There is a door for the oil when you're doing your oil changes. This skid plate does require you to have a 2-inch lift or larger on your Jeep. I read some of the reviews on it, and that was a concern to some people. Well, we have the 2.5-inch Terraflex, so we should be good. Anyways, here we go. Alright, so it is super thick, very heavy duty. I think the package weighed like 57 pounds or something like that, I believe. Like I said, 3/16 thick. So far, really happy with the quality of the powder coating that they have on here. There's no chips or cracks or anything that I see. Of course, it will be abused and used, but it looks really good coming out of the package. Here is the little trap door for changing your oil, and some of the braces and brackets that connect to the existing skid plates and stuff like that. So there's hopefully all of our hardware. If you are missing hardware, they give you a number to call, so hopefully that's not the sign of things to come.
Typically our luck.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll bring you under the Jeep here shortly. Okay, if your Jeep does have the factory skid plate, the little crappy factory skid plate, you will have to remove that. Otherwise, the aftermarket skid plate will not fit. Okay, so the first step in the directions are to remove the 3 OEM bolts, 1, 2, and 3 on the transmission skid plate. That's where we're at right now, so I'm about to take that off. Okay, just a little tip. It is easier to use a jack to help maneuver it around. It's very heavy and hard to get underneath it, so that did help. So right here, we're trying to get the holes lined up, and come to find out we didn't have it lined up to the right holes, so we had to move it over. So during this part of the installation, we realized that we had the wrong instructions from Smittybilt. We had the instructions from like the 2011 and older JK and JKU. So we were trying to figure out what brackets and where they actually bolted up to. Since there was nothing telling us where they needed to go, it was just kind of trial and error, and this was the biggest pain in the butt of the whole install. But the thinner of the two brackets. It has about a 45-degree bend on one side and just a slight degree bend on the other. Goes on the passenger side. And the one that looks like a bridge goes on the driver's side. And it's actually built that way to go around the drive shaft, the front drive shaft. And it's pretty self-explanatory once you figure out what goes where, because there's only one hole that it can bolt up to. So that's what we're looking at here in this video clip. Okay, so we were actually given the wrong directions by Smittybilt.
That's what I was thinking. Sorry.
Anyways, so it took a little bit of time and effort to figure out where the passenger side bracket needed to go. So it does, I'm sorry, I'm tight on the space here. It does bolt into the side of the skid plate right there. And again, I'm super close to everything. It goes up, and there are two holes in, let's see if I can get up here. There are two holes in the, actually at the bottom of the motor mount. So this is the hole right here, closest, like closer to the back. This is the one hole closer to the front. The support bracket will only go in the one closer to the front because there's an opening on the back side of it. If you try to put it in the back hole, you're gonna actually be hitting the, and I say motor mount, I think that's actually the transmission mount, but you're actually gonna be hitting the bracing for the transmission mount right here. It's open on the back, and it should, once I have everything really loose right now, it should tighten it up. And I'm about to move over to the driver's side and see what I can figure out on that side. Okay, so this is the driver's side bracket. Again, this is going to be the transmission. Let me see where I'm at. I get lost under here sometimes. This is going to be this is the motor mount. So there's two holes. The hole that the bracket is bolted to is going towards the front of the Jeep, and the elongated hole there on the right hand side is going towards the back of the Jeep. It bolts up there, and it comes down and bolts into the side of the skid plate. It was a pain in the butt to get to, but wasn't too bad. Just I think I said a couple cuss words, but not real bad. Anyways, that's what we're looking at right now, and everything again is just finger tight at the moment until we can get in there and get everything buttoned up 100%. Okay, so that probably was a lot harder than it should have been, but the brackets on the front are kind of a pain in the butt to get to. You're having to work laying on your back if you're like me and don't have a lift. You're laying on your back, you just don't have much room to move around, and it gets a little tight. Anyways, we are still running the factory transfer case skid. So we put the engine and transmission skid underneath the factory transfer case skid because there's dog ears on it and they just wouldn't fit flat, and it just didn't seem like that's the way it should go. Smittybilt does offer a transfer case skid. We can link the part numbers below for everything that we've purchased and probably will purchase. They recommend putting the transmission skid on top of for an easier transition, and I agree, it definitely would be a smoother transition coming off the engine and transmission skid. So So anyways, we may do that later down the road. It wasn't a hard install, like I said, just not a lot of room. I did cuss, but like I said, I'm not a mechanic, so a lot of it was my trial and error and things like that. If you have any questions, hit me up. I can probably walk you along. It's going to be a 3/4 nut and an 18-inch bolt head. I'm sorry, 18. I'm wore out. A 18mm bolt head. So don't make that mistake. When you're in those tight spaces, it's really hard to get where you're going and figure everything out. But anyways, what else? Like I said, I'm not a mechanic. I feel like I'm fairly mechanically inclined, but then when I start doing stuff like this, I pretty much decide that I'm an idiot. But anyways, hope you enjoy. Hope this helps you out. Like I said, hit me up if you have any questions or comments. I'd be more than happy to tell you what I've figured out or found out throughout the process. And I don't know how well this video is gonna turn out, because there was so much starting and stopping and trial and error and taking on and pulling off, and anyways, it was a pain in the butt. But anyways, the skid looks great. Seems to be great quality, thick. There was not a ding, dent, scratch on it. Yeah, I mean, it looks really good. So we'll be testing it out. We're going to Hot Springs here in April if we can make it through the purge, the coronavirus stuff. So anyways, I really appreciate you guys watching. Don't give me too hard of a time. Man, like I said, this is made it way harder than it should have been. But anyways, I appreciate you guys. And like, subscribe, follow. If you would like, go follow us over on Facebook at Jeep Around Texas, over at Instagram at Jeep Around Texas. And yeah, man, love to see you over there. Thank you very much, and y'all have a good day. Bye.